Hey guys, what's going on? Today, for you guys, I have a Killzone 3 review. I'm going to hop right into this game and I'm going to hit it hard. I don't want this to be too long, so without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy. Just sit back, relax, and let your buddy Commonwealth92 take you on a ride of the review. First thing I want to talk about, though, with this game, honestly, is the way I got it into my PlayStation 3. I originally bought the game, but I took it back because I heard some bad things on the forums, so I rented it. Got raped by freaking Blockbuster for $9 for a 5-day rental, which is absolutely ridiculous, but in the end, ended up being worth my money. So I had a lot of fun. Considering it's $10 to go to the movies nowadays, not really disappointed. But, you know, moving on, obviously, the first thing that I would like to talk about would be the story. And with the story, there's a couple things that really stuck out to me. The story was great, and the story was bad. Now, what I mean by that is, the story was awesome in the sense that they changed up the environments a lot more than Killzone 2 did. You were in urban environments for about 90% of that game. And then you kind of changed scenery a little bit, but not very that much. There wasn't a lot of color in it, and it was cool, but Killzone 3 does a much better job of switching the pace and switching the locations. It also has more color in it, so it's a little nicer to look at just because the graphics have improved. The lighting is amazing, and I'll get into that in a second. But as far as the overall story, there are a couple things that bothered me. Number one, the dialogue was about as cheesy as you can get, and the ending was, well, let's just say it was abrupt. Other than that, everything else about the story I really liked. This game is a little different from Killzone 2, if you don't remember. Killzone 2, you were able to carry one primary weapon. It's the same thing in this game. But what you can do now is you can carry one heavy weapon along with your sidearm. So that actually adds to some variation. It actually kind of gives you sort of a weapon wheel, but not really as intricate as a weapon wheel from, say, Resistance. Really what it allows you to do is you can have your M82 and you can have your little sidearm, and you can also have a rocket launcher on your back. So, you know, say you got a couple Higgs just crept up in a corner, you can pull out your rocket and you can blast those suckers away. So it adds a little bit to the gameplay, especially with some of the heavy weapons that they introduced to this game. You know, they have the standard miniguns and they have all that good stuff for you. In plenty of stuff to mess around with in the game, and you'll have a lot of exposure to a lot of it. It'll be abundant in the supply. You'll get plenty of big guns and just killing machines that you can use. The Wasp is actually pretty badass. It's kind of like a Gatling rocket shooter, which is ridiculous. But as far as the story's progression and it making you want to play it more, let's put it this way: I beat it in one day. And I don't do that often, especially with shooters. Their stories, I don't tend to beat them at all, honestly. The only reason why I touched Modern Warfare 2's campaign is because the servers were down for a day. I've gotten to the third mission of the Black Ops story, and it bored me. Battle for Bad Company 2, I beat it because, again, the servers were down. Killzone was probably the only game that I intentionally and willingly went into the story first. And I want to say the reason for this would have to be just the Hellgas and the way they intrigue me. They're a really cool enemy. They're just visceral and they're relentless and they want to kill you. They're very bloodthirsty and they're very smart. They know what they're doing. They know how to work their gun. They know how to use cover and they know how to use grenades. They know how to flank you. They know tactics. They're not just some stupid cardboard cookie cutter cutouts from every other first-person shooter. They actually breathe and live and think, and that's something that I really enjoy about the Killzone series. One thing I will say, though, and I noticed this about Killzone 3 and Killzone 2, is Killzone 2 seemed to be a little more difficult. I don't know if that's because the aiming's a little easier in Killzone 3, or maybe because the bullets don't recoil the guns don't have as much recoil, or maybe it's just the cover system's a little easier to use. But a couple other things were a little weird as far as the story. I played it on hard mode this time as opposed to normal, as every other shooter. Lately I've been playing on hard mode, so it may be because I'm getting a little better, but I don't want to say that necessarily because it felt like it was on normal mode. So, I will say that Killzone 2 seems to be the harder of the two games as far as the AI, and this may be a choice from GG just to maybe reach more people. I don't like the choice, but that's kind of how the cookie crumbles, so to speak. One thing I will say about the gameplay right off the bat is, maybe you do or do not know, the controls are easier to use now, and what I mean by that is there's not as much weight on your guy, there's not as much recoil on the guns, and it's easier to aim down the sight. It's just easier to use that feature. The other thing that I noticed is going into cover as easy as snapping. You snap into cover now. You can actually slide into cover. You can hop out of your cover Your movement is much more dynamic in this game. They added a brutal melee system, and the brutal melee system is something very, very, very sick. It's awesome. You stab people in the eyes, you break people's necks, you slit people's throats, you know, you kick them against the wall and bang their head. It's pretty awesome. Some stuff you can do. That being said, going back to the cover system actually was really improved in this game because the cover actually changed up. It's kind of like a first-person Gears of War cover system. And what I mean by that, it's not like you're able to go from cover to cover like Uncharted, but what it is before you had to hold cover. Now you just press cover and you're in cover. And then you can move around in cover and go to the side, go to the left, to the right, and it's much easier to do this because you don't have to hold down the trigger button. So it's really cool that, you know, they fixed that about the cover. The story in a nutshell is it has variety. It's great. 1 minute you're in an urban setting, the next minute you're in the snow, the next minute you're in the freaking jungle, the next minute you're in space. It's just a really nice story. It progresses really well, but there are a couple things that are kind of weird about the story. First thing, the cheesy ass dialogue. You know, it's I don't know. These guys just sound like 12-year-olds when they're talking. Honestly, it does. They're not cursing as much as they were in the second game, but let's put it this way, I kind of miss the cursing because the cheesy dialogue and the like tough guy talk isn't something that I liked too much in this game. The only time I really found myself really compelled by the dialogue and like, oh, this is actually really interesting, was when the Hellgas were in the war room. At that point, I was like, okay, I want to watch this because this is interesting. But when the ISA were talking, it just made them sound like generic Marine dudes from freaking Michael Bay film. It just was something that didn't really catch my interest too much. So I will say thumbs down on that regard. Everything else is a thumbs up. The gameplay is better. The Hellgas are still as freaking crazy. The environments are beautiful. And I will say this: sometime during the story, I'd be blown away by the graphics, the way the graphics look. And that's surprising because I already know what to expect. It's Killzone, right? But there are times when it went above and beyond all of that. The lighting is top notch. They added MLAA. It's just so much better as far as the graphics. I love it. There's more color. It looks really great. But all that aside, the story was really good up until the ending. Honestly, the ending felt a little abrupt. I didn't like that too much. It felt as if there was a chapter left out of the game. But I can't really get into that because I don't want to ruin it for anybody, considering it is the story and it is something really fun to play. All I would say is play the story because it's really fun. I beat it in one sit down. Like I said, I don't do that too much. But with Killzone 3's story, it kind of kept me up till 2 or 3 in the morning, and I decided I'm going to beat it in one night. And that's kind of what I did. The next day, I picked up the multiplayer, went on, played a little bit. Noticed, or I didn't notice, I already knew about this, but you'll notice when you play the multiplayer, there's 3 modes instead of the 1 game mode as opposed to before. Killzone 2 only had the Warzone game type, but you can customize that to make it a team deathmatch or whatever. In this game, you've got Guerrilla Warfare, which is your standard team deathmatch. You've got Warzone, which is that crazy, awesome game type where you have the objectives switching up left and right. 1 minute you got team deathmatch, then you got capture the flag, and then you got search and destroy, and then you got assassination. So that's what I love. That's my bread and butter, and that's what I really play in the game. And then you've got Operations. Operations is a new story-driven game type that really reminds me of Attack and Defend in Battlefield Bad Company, or just Battlefield in general. It really reminds me of the Gold Rush type thing, or you know, that's what it reminds me of. You're doing certain missions, whether it be planting some bombs or capturing some points, and you're moving up along the map. And it has a little story integrating into it, and I think that's really cool. The only downside of that is like 3 maps for it, and that's about it, and they get old kind of quick because it's the same missions every time. The only way that it changes is if you're the ISA or the Hellgas, and you know, that's just kind of boring. But as far as the multiplayer with Warzone is considered, there are good things and there are bad things. I'm going to talk about the bad things first because there's more to talk about as far as that. They did a couple things in this game to make it different from Killzone 2. Aside from the controls being different and the recoil being different on the guns. What they did is they took away the spawn grenades, and they took away the spawn on squad feature, which is something that kind of bothered me because it was a little more balanced at that point. What they did in this game is they added a TSA or a TSP, whichever you like to call it. It's a tactical spawn area, and they have about 3 of them throughout the map, and then you have your 2 bases. These 3 capture points are neutral at the beginning of the game, and it's up to your tacticians to capture them. What this leads to is spawn trapping. Basically, the game is like this nowadays. If you spawn trap the other team, you're going to win. If you get spawn trapped, you're going to lose. Now, I understand some of you are like, well, isn't it like that in every game? It is like that in every game, but what I mean by this is you kind of have to do that in Killzone 3 now. It's turned into one of the side objectives, honestly. It's a game within the game. There's an underlayer there where spawn trapping the other team is actually more important than going for objectives at this point. And that ruins the game big time. Makes the game boring, and it makes the games not close at all, which leads to a predictable, boring game. And I really don't like that too much. We'll take a game where we lose 3-4 or we win 4-3, and I go negative, and it's a close game, and we're going balls to the walls, and we're just battling it out, over a game where I'm getting raped or I'm raping them. I don't like games that aren't close. I love close games. And you know, that's the only way that a shooter is really fun, because then you got all that adrenaline, you got all that build up, the dramatic, you know, the drama's going. You're like, are we gonna win? Are we gonna lose? Every death counts. That's when it's fun, when people are really not caring about their kill death ratios and they're just going for it at that point. And there's not a lot of that in Killzone 3 right now, and it's due to a couple things. One thing that I noticed, obviously the TSPs, they changed things a little bit. The spawning's a little different. But the other thing that I noticed is the types of classes people are using. There's a lot of marksmen and there's a lot of infiltrators in the game. What I will say about this is, while the engineer did dominate the classes in Killzone 2, it wasn't like this. There was still more variety in the game, and it didn't lead to really a broken experience. But with Killzone 3, honestly, that's why I'm waiting a month to go buy it, because I'm waiting for the marksmen and the infiltrators, the people from other games, to kind of leave the game, and for people to figure out really what's going on about Warzone. A lot of the times I would get on teams, and it would be the worst team, because of my luck, you know, I'm lucky like that. I'd get on the team that's the worst. While I was having a good score, I'd score like 6,500 points, 7,000 points. I'd be getting a lot of points. I wasn't having fun because the game wasn't close. It was kind of just like me spawning, killing a couple guys because they were spawn camping, and then getting killed. So, you know, this ruins it in a sense, because you want to go explore the maps, you want to go find areas in the map that you like, and it's kind of hard to do that when you hop into a game and you get in spawn traps. So it's difficult when your whole team is using the freaking marksman class and like half your team's invisible, just sitting there camping an area. It kind of ruins the flow of Warzone. And for those of you who don't know, in Killzone, your kill death ratio does not mean shit. This isn't Call of Duty. It doesn't matter. There are no kill streaks. You're not going to get, if you sit in a corner and get 9 kills, nothing special is going to come out. You're not going to get a golden chopper gunner out your butthole or anything like that. You're just going to keep getting kills, and that's really it. You're not helping with the objective at all. You could be saying, well, I'm killing people. Yeah, but you're killing people just so they can respawn and go to the objective again. So you're not really helping in essence. I would understand if you were like at the bomb site and killing people as they come and try to defuse it or plant it. Okay, that's perfectly acceptable. You're near the objective. But what I'm talking about is the people just sitting in a corner and they're just like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to get my 20 kills and I'm going to die 4 times and I'm good. Yeah, because I got a 5 KD. That's not what Killzone's about, and a lot of people don't quite understand that yet, or they just don't care at this point. A lot of people don't play the objective, and it really ruins the experience. That being said, and my bitching and complaining being over with, rant over, I will say that they did a couple things amazing in this game that I love. Maps, oh my goodness. When I play the maps in this game, it's kind of like this is how a map is supposed to feel. The multiplayer, while it can be at times a camp fest and a spawn raping contest, like a tug of war type thing, it still is intense. It's still crazy. It's still in your face. It's still explosive. It's still that visceral experience that you expect from a Killzone game. Mechs and jetpacks, they add to it, honestly, in my opinion. The first game I got into with the mech, he was walking around and I looked at it and there was this 13-foot freaking behemoth in front of me. I was like, what the fuck? And I ran away like a scared little bitch. I'm not gonna lie. That thing looked like a freaking, it looked like it came out of a cartoon. It was ridiculous. It was creepy as hell. And I freaking split. I was like, I'm out. I booked it. But as far as the multiplayer, I'm going to give Gorilla some time. I'm not going to buy it for about a month or so. But that being said, I see the multiplayer having amazing potential. If people can just stop caring about their kill death ratios and go for the objective, and if the games were closer, this game would be the best game ever, honestly, because that would be something that no other game has. Killzone is so fun right now, but there's just certain times when the game's not fun anymore. I'm not going to rant on this all day. You guys have gotten the point, I'm pretty sure. The game can be great. It is great at times, but it's kind of like that game every once in a while where everyone's working together and the game's tight and close. It's like a diamond in the rough right now because it's not happening often enough. So hopefully the community sorts things out. Maybe patches can help out. And for the love of God, please bring back custom soundtracks in the game. Custom soundtracks was my favorite thing about Killzone 2. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not lying. If they release a patch, like say tomorrow, GG posts a patch and like we have a new patch, it's gonna add custom soundtrack, I'd go to the store and I'd buy the game. I'm not gonna lie, because nothing beats killing Hellgas or killing ISA dudes to the sound of freaking Wu-Tang Clan and Jedi Mind Tricks. I just dig on it. You know what I mean? I love listening to my music while I'm shooting people. It's just awesome. You know what I'm saying? Throw some Nas on or something and I'm just like, you know, I'm shooting dudes. You got the music in the background and you got the explosions going off. It's just nothing beats it. I wish more games had in-game music for PlayStation 3, but unfortunately Microsoft has that patent, so a little difficult there. But I hope they add that. And like I said, I hope the community changes a little bit. I hope people kind of figure out it's not about your kill-death ratio, it's about the objective and winning games. And I hope to see you guys on the battlefield someday when I buy the game, because I will definitely buy it. I had a great time with it. I think it's a stellar game. Scale of 1 to 10, honestly, right now, it's a 9. Just for the fact that the ending of the story was a little weird, dialogue was cheesy as a mofo, and the multiplayer still has a few kinks in it that people really need to just figure out. And it's not Guerrilla Games' fault, more so as it is the people's fault, because people are not playing this game correctly right now, the way I see it. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope you guys check the game out. At least give it a rent. It's definitely worth a rent just to play the story, honestly, in my opinion. And I hope you guys just enjoyed it. So you guys have a nice Friday, and I'll see you guys later.